Right, I'm currently on the phone with Stan. He's another musician that reached out about the interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. Again, my name is Stan O'Daffer. So I'm a primarily a pianist, keyboard player. My main thing in music, I guess, is as a writer. So I do quite a bit of composing. The style that I do is kind of all over the place. I was been trained as a jazz musician, classical musician, but just to get a gig, I've worked in pretty much every area there is. So, kind of hard to pin that down.
All right, sure. Well, let's do our best and go back in time. Tell me about when you kind of came in contact with music and what about it kind of inspired you and made you want to participate in it.
Well, I think I'm no different than most people. My family actually exposed me to music, so and primarily my older brother. Uh, because he was my older brother, he was like the cool brother. So, of course, I had to listen to his music, and he was really into the Beatles and a lot of progressive rock stuff when I was growing up, and so that kind of got me hooked into that sort of music that's interesting, challenging to listen to. It was just music to me.
Okay. And when do you think you kind of made the decision that you as well were going to become a musician?
That's a very good question. I wish I knew the answer to that.
All right. Well, let's rephrase it slightly. When did you start learning an instrument?
Okay. So we had a piano at home that my mother had played when she was younger, and it was just kind of sitting there. Nobody really used it much. And I just would kind of tinkle on it, piddle around, and gradually kind of started to teach myself some things with music. And so that kind of got me interested in learning the instrument. And then, of course, as I was growing up in grade school, I think there was a first thing for band, like in fifth grade. So the instrument that we had available to me was drums. My older brother played drums, so I actually started as a drummer. So I went through high school as a drummer. So.
And I always ask this question, but when you say in school, do you mean like the regular concert band curriculum, that kind of thing?
Right. So, yeah, concert band. Yep. Marching band.
Marching band. Yep. Okay. Sure. Since you were a drummer, I assume also drumline.
Oh, yes.
Sure. Awesome. So tell me a bit about how you engage with music outside of school. So obviously at that point you were a drummer. Were you looking for like other, of your peers to play with and like the garage band type thing? Or what was kind of your hobby relationship with music?
Well, actually, the high school that I went to, music was kind of an important thing there. So the jazz band was a pretty big deal in our school. And it was, at that time, it was after school. So it was an extracurricular thing. So I spent most of my time in the jazz band. And along with that, practicing. So I would come home from school and I would put on a record and I'd sit down at the drum kit and I would just play along. I used to do that for hours and hours.
Okay. And so would that be learning like the jazz songs that you guys were doing in jazz band, or did you have like other stuff like, contemporary rock songs that you were learning as well?
Yeah. So jazz band was jazz band. It was, as a kid, I mean, I think we've all been there. I didn't want to learn that stuff. I wanted to play the rock stuff that I really like listening to. So I'd come home and I'd put on, I don't know, like Rush or something like that. And I'd play that or do that sort of thing. So.
Okay. So tell me about, once you were kind of out of school and transitioning to kind of either your college years, young adult years, how did you continue to keep music in your life, particularly because it sounds like it was more so within the school system that you were engaging with music?
So I actually went, well, after high school, I went into college as a music major. Um, and as a percussion major. So, interesting story there is that as a freshman, as a drummer, you're instantly injected into the marching band at the school I went to, which was Illinois State University. So their notoriety is that they have the largest marching band in the country.
Sure. It's like there's like some 80 people in just their drum line or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So like 2 weeks before school started, boom, you're practicing drumline stuff, marching band stuff. And so I was practicing, and this was like 8 hours a day in the hot sun with these four toms, wearing these four toms, and yeah, it was a killer. It was an absolute killer. And I went to my academic advisor and I was like, please, can you find something for me to get out of this? So he said, well, there's an opening in jazz band. You should go audition for that on piano. And I was like, well, I've never really done that, but okay, why not? So I did. I went and I auditioned on piano in the jazz band. And for some reason that's unknown to me, he picked me to be the piano player in jazz band.
So I can definitely relate to your sentiment towards quads in the hot sun. I myself played quads when I was in marching band, so I'm familiar with that. Very cool. So tell me about transitioning to piano and then going into jazz band.
So it was, as you say, I was in the woodshed, quite literally, because I had never really done that before. So I had these charts. I was not that good of a reader, but I had to learn the song. So I would practice. Every free amount of free time that I had between classes or after class or whatever, I was practicing these parts, and I grew so much in just a few months. It's incredible, and that's something that I would tell any other musician out there. If you believe that you can't do something, you can do anything you put your mind to. And practice, really, it just solves everything. If you just practice your instrument, you will learn.
They say, that 20 minutes of practice that you're supposed to do every day is kind of what leads you into, transitioning your body into the muscle memory of playing an instrument. But I mean, that's kind of only half of the story. There's also a mental component as well. So practice all of those things together. And, I'm not exactly sure where I was going with that point. I just kind of wanted to emphasize it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yep.
Okay, so tell me, a few years after that, once you're out of college, you have all of, this music history behind you, as well as, I assume, a major in music. What did you do next? What was your continuing motivation to, work on music?
Well, I became a composition major, and so in school, that was my thing, of course, was composing and writing music. And so once I finished college, I went to school in Illinois. And so the obvious thing was to go to Chicago. At that point, there really wasn't a lot going on in Chicago. And I had a buddy that lived in Minneapolis, a buddy from jazz band. And it was like, hey, man, you should come up here and check it out. It's really cool. So I did. I moved up to Minneapolis and fell in love with it. At that time, the Minneapolis sound thing was going on with Prince and all that. So I kind of got injected into that whole scene. I started working as a session player. Really, it was kind of my main thing for a while.
Okay, so you're doing session work around for all of the local Minneapolis bands and things like that?
Yeah, I befriended a producer, and so he'd give me a call. He'd have a client, and he'd call me and say, "Hey, I need a piano part in this song. Is they want like a rockabilly thing? Can you come in and do it?" All right, cool. So I come in and I lay the part down.
So that was kind of the next question I was going to ask. When you were getting session work, did you have like a specific instrument you were doing it for, or is it whatever instrument they needed?
Piano, yeah, piano primarily, keyboards.
Okay, okay. Okay, and then so how long do you think you've been doing that for?
Oh boy,
A significant amount of time, I assume. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, in addition to doing any sort of session work, did you have any of your own like creative projects going on?
Yeah, so I did that, to get some money, and then um, just kind of fell into some other projects. I ended up working out at Paisley Park with some of the Prince people, and I got injected into an old side project that Prince had with Ingrid Chavez, was kind of his protege at the time. Um, so she had written a song, "Justify My Love," that Madonna made a big hit out of, and so Warner Brothers thought that they were going to turn her into Madonna, and so they put a lot of money into that. Prince was behind that, and so we rehearsed for kind of like 6 months, and they finally realized that she just didn't have the stage presence that you need to be a performer. So that project got canned and was kind of a drag. And I kind of got burnt out on the whole scene because the egos at that level are just, it's ridiculous.
Sure. I mean, that's quite a feather in your cap, though, to say that you're working at Paisley Park at that time, though. That's impressive.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was fun, but again, it was so competitive, and it was beyond realistic. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, the hoops that they would put you through, and it was trying period. So I just was like, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that wants to go party and do all that stuff, So I just kind of said, okay, I'll just do my own thing. And so I did. I went that direction.
Okay, so tell me a bit about that. Once you kind of left that environment, where did that lead you? And does that kind of bring you up to kind of where you are now?
Yeah, so I was frustrated working with the egos and other musicians. And so I just decided, I can just do this myself. And so I wrote an album's worth of instrumental piano pieces. At that time, kind of the new age thing was kind of a big deal. Not, it was a thing. I don't know, it was a big deal, but it was a thing. And so I kind of went in that direction in the market. And so I did. I hired a producer, and I went out to Paisley Park and recorded an album of piano music.
Okay. And where did that go to? Were you able to successfully pitch that to anybody, or is it sitting on a shelf? Give me some more history about that.
So, yeah, I did try to pitch it to some labels and had some interest, but nothing really happened. So I ended up self-releasing it. And hired a publicist to promote it, and it got airplay around the country. But I ran out of money. Trying to do this stuff on your own is hard, and I just didn't have the money to keep it going, to kind of build some momentum. So I had some success, but it didn't, obviously translate into anything bigger than that.
Okay. And so tell me about what you're currently involved in and, what your current outlets are.
So currently, oddly enough, I'm working on a new version of the same album. So when I originally did these songs, it was just piano. There was some light synthesizer work and some percussion things going on, but not a lot. The new project that I'm working on, I've kind of re-envisioned all the songs from that album and fully orchestrated them. So yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be interesting. It's more along the jazz side of things now, I would say though.
So you're currently reworking that stuff. I assume that you're doing that like at an in-home project studio kind of thing, or are you booking time somewhere for it?
Yeah, so I'm doing that in my home studio, um, which is kind of the thing today to do. So yeah, I mean I've got the gear that I can do that with now. So it allows me time to really kind of perfect these songs and try some things, go down some rabbit holes and see if it works. You know, things that you could never do before when you were paying for studio time. You could never do. So you know, it's cool that way.
Awesome. So, it sounds like you've had a pretty extensive, relationship with music throughout the years. What are some of your favorite memories that stand out to you that keep you motivated and want to keep doing it?
Oh, that's the $1 million question right there. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated in music. It's a real kind of cutthroat business. And the odds of you really quote unquote making it are, pretty steep. But there's something about it that it's just part of your soul. If you're a musician, it's an addiction. You kind of have to do it.
Sure. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think playing with other musicians though is really the high point for me, especially in improvisational music, because that really is like crack. It really is because when you are improvising something and all the other players are kind of are clicking and you can it feels like you could read their minds and it's just there's a groove going on and that is like the ultimate, I think. When you have those moments in music, it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. All right. Well, where can people find, your social media and follow you, and then also check out your recordings that you have available?
So you can check out my stuff on my website, stanodaffer.com. So it's STANODAFFER.com. I have my songs on there, at least the ones that have been released. That'll be expanding shortly here in the following months as I get more material ready to release. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook. Again, just look up my name. I'll be on there. Facebook. I'll be expanding social media too. Facebook is really the only one I have developed at this point.
All right. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you think other people should hear?
Well, I would say just don't give up on your dream, just keep working at it. If you keep working at it long enough, it'll happen.